Take a slow, gentle breath and imagine yourself floating effortlessly above a warm, clear ocean. Sunlight filters through the surface in soft, wavering beams, illuminating a landscape of intricate shapes and muted colors below. As your body relaxes, you drift closer to the reef, a living structure built over centuries by tiny marine animals, whose quiet work has created one of the most diverse environments on Earth. Coral reefs are underwater ecosystems formed primarily by colonies of coral polyps. Each polyp is a small, soft-bodied animal related to jellyfish and sea anemones. Though delicate on its own, a single polyp secretes a hard skeleton made of calcium carbonate. Over time, countless polyps build layer upon layer of this mineral structure, forming the solid framework that we recognize as a coral reef. The reef itself is not a single organism, but a vast community. Within its ridges, crevices, and branching forms live fish, crustaceans, mollusks, sponges, worms, and countless microscopic organisms. This remarkable concentration of life exists in waters that are often low in nutrients, a fact that has long fascinated marine scientists. Coral polyps survive through a partnership with microscopic algae called zooxanthellae. These algae live within the tissues of the coral and use sunlight to produce energy through photosynthesis. A portion of this energy is shared with the coral host, providing essential nutrients that support growth and reef building. In return, the coral provides the algae with shelter and access to sunlight in the clear, shallow waters where reefs thrive. Most reef-building corals prefer water temperatures between 23 and 29 degrees Celsius. They are typically found in tropical and subtropical oceans, where sunlight penetrates easily to the seafloor. Clear water is essential because sediment can block light, reducing the ability of the algae to produce energy. For this reason, healthy reefs are often located away from large river mouths or areas with heavy coastal runoff. The structure of a coral reef creates a complex, three-dimensional habitat. Branching corals form thickets that shelter small fish from predators. Massive boulder corals provide stable surfaces for algae and invertebrates to attach. Plate-like corals extend outward to capture sunlight, forming layered shelves that create shaded spaces beneath them. Each shape contributes to the overall diversity of the reef, offering niches for countless species. Reefs are often compared to rainforests because of their extraordinary biodiversity. Although they cover less than 1% of the ocean floor, coral reefs support an estimated 25% of all marine species. This abundance of life is made possible by efficient recycling of nutrients within the reef system. Waste products from one organism become resources for another, creating a tightly balanced web of survival. Water movement plays a vital role in reef health. Gentle currents bring oxygen and plankton, which serve as food for many reef inhabitants. Waves help remove sediment from coral surfaces, preventing smothering and maintaining access to sunlight. The constant motion of water also helps regulate temperature, reducing the risk of heat stress for sensitive coral species. Color is one of the most striking features of coral reefs. The vibrant hues often come from the zooxanthellae living within coral tissues, as well as pigments produced by the corals themselves. These pigments can act as a form of protection, shielding the coral from intense sunlight. Fish and invertebrates add their own colors to the reef, using patterns for camouflage, communication, and mating displays. Sound is another subtle but important element of reef environments. Though the ocean may seem silent from above, reefs are filled with a gentle crackling and popping, produced by snapping shrimp, grazing fish, and the movement of water over rough surfaces. These natural sounds form an acoustic landscape that helps marine larvae locate suitable habitats when searching for a place to settle. Coral reefs grow slowly. Many massive corals add only a few millimeters to their skeletons each year. Despite this slow pace, reefs can become enormous over long periods, forming barrier reefs that stretch for hundreds of kilometers and atolls that encircle tranquil lagoons. These formations protect coastlines by absorbing wave energy, reducing erosion, and providing calmer waters near shore. Reefs also play a role in supporting human communities. They provide food through fisheries, attract tourism, and serve as natural barriers against storms. In many coastal regions, reefs are deeply connected to cultural traditions and local livelihoods, offering both practical resources and a sense of place. As you continue to float above this intricate underwater world, notice the gentle rhythm of the water and the steady presence of the reef below. Each coral colony, each fish weaving through the branches, and each grain of sand nestled in a crevice contributes to a system that has endured through storms, shifting tides, and changing seasons. Allow your breathing to slow, matching the calm pulse of the ocean. Imagine the reef continuing its quiet work beneath you. Polyps extending their tentacles to feed, algae capturing sunlight, and tiny organisms finding shelter within the coral's protective maze. In this peaceful scene, the reef exists as both a structure and a community, built through patience, cooperation, and the steady passage of time. Take another slow breath and imagine drifting closer to the reef, near enough to observe the delicate structures that form its living surface. What appears from afar as solid stone is, in truth, a vast mosaic of tiny animals working together in quiet coordination. Each coral colony is composed of hundreds, thousands, or even millions of individual polyps, each contributing to the strength and continuity of the reef. A coral polyp is a simple animal with a cylindrical body and a central mouth surrounded by a ring of tentacles. These tentacles are equipped with specialized cells called nematocysts, which contain microscopic harpoons used to capture plankton drifting in the current. When triggered, the nematocysts release with remarkable speed, securing tiny prey and guiding it toward the mouth. Inside the polyp's body lies a single internal cavity known as the gastrovascular cavity. This chamber serves multiple functions, including digestion, nutrient distribution, and waste removal. Because corals lack complex organs, this shared cavity performs the essential tasks needed for survival. Nutrients absorbed here are distributed throughout the polyp's tissues, and in colonial corals, can be shared with neighboring polyps through thin layers of living tissue that connect them. Beneath the soft tissue of the polyp lies the skeleton, a cup-shaped structure made of calcium carbonate. This skeletal cup, called a corallite, provides protection and support. As the polyp grows, it deposits additional layers of calcium carbonate beneath itself, gradually lifting the living tissue upward, while expanding the reef structure below. Over time, this slow and steady process forms the massive limestone foundations associated with coral reefs. The living layer of a coral colony is surprisingly thin, often only a few millimeters thick. Beneath it lies the accumulated skeleton of previous generations. This layered structure serves as a historical record of growth, with subtle variations reflecting changes in water temperature, chemistry, and seasonal conditions. Corals obtain nourishment in two primary ways. In addition to capturing plankton with their tentacles, they receive energy from the microscopic algae living within their tissues. These algae produce sugars through photosynthesis, which are shared with the coral host. This partnership allows corals to thrive in nutrient-poor waters, where plankton alone would not provide sufficient energy for growth. The relationship between coral and algae also influences the coral's coloration. When conditions are stable, the algae remain within the coral tissues, giving reefs their warm browns, greens, and golden tones. If the algae are lost due to stress, the coral's translucent tissues reveal the white calcium carbonate skeleton beneath, a condition known as coral bleaching. While bleached corals are still alive, prolonged stress can threaten their survival. Different coral species display a wide variety of growth forms. Branching corals grow in tree-like patterns, with slender arms that maximize exposure to sunlight. Massive corals form rounded domes that resist strong waves and storms. Encrusting corals spread outward in thin layers, coating rocks and stabilizing the reef framework. Plate corals grow in flattened shapes that extend horizontally, capturing sunlight in deeper or shaded waters. Each growth form represents a balance between light capture, water flow, and structural stability. In areas with strong wave action, compact shapes are less likely to break. In calmer waters, delicate branching forms can flourish, creating intricate habitats for small fish and invertebrates. Coral tissues contain tiny pores that allow water to circulate across their surfaces. This flow delivers oxygen and nutrients while removing waste products. The thinness of the tissue layer ensures that diffusion, the movement of substances from areas of high concentration to low concentration, can occur efficiently. This simple yet effective system allows corals to survive without complex circulatory structures. At night, many coral polyps extend their tentacles to feed more actively. Under the cover of darkness, plankton rises toward the surface, providing a rich food source. The reef takes on a different character after sunset, with polyps opening like countless tiny flowers, gently waving in the current. Reproduction in corals can occur in several ways. Many species reproduce asexually by budding, where new polyps form from existing ones, expanding the colony. Others reproduce sexually through the release of eggs and sperm into the water column during synchronized spawning events. Fertilized larvae drift with ocean currents before settling onto suitable surfaces, where they develop into new polyps and begin building their own skeletons. The timing of spawning events is often coordinated with lunar cycles and water temperature, ensuring that large numbers of larvae are produced simultaneously. This synchronization increases the likelihood of successful fertilization and helps sustain reef populations across wide areas. Coral skeletons are not inert structures. They are constantly modified by living tissue and by other reef organisms. Parrotfish and sea urchins graze on algae growing on coral surfaces, sometimes scraping small amounts of calcium carbonate in the process. Boring organisms, such as certain sponges and worms, create tiny tunnels within the skeleton, contributing to the gradual breakdown and recycling of reef material. This balance between construction and erosion is essential to reef health. While corals build the framework, other organisms help shape and renew it, creating sand and sediment that contribute to beaches and islands. Over long periods, these processes maintain the dynamic stability of reef ecosystems as you continue to drift peacefully above the reef. Imagine the countless polyps working in unison, each one extending its tentacles, capturing food and depositing mineral layers beneath its body. Their combined efforts create structures that endure for centuries, offering shelter and nourishment to an entire community of marine life. Let your breathing remain slow and steady, matching the gentle rhythm of the ocean. The reef below continues its quiet construction, one microscopic layer at a time, building a world of remarkable complexity through patience and cooperation. Take a slow, steady breath and imagine drifting even closer to the reef, where sunlight shimmers across the coral surface in soft, shifting patterns. Beneath this gentle light exists one of the most important partnerships in the ocean, a delicate cooperation that allows coral reefs to flourish in waters that might otherwise seem too clear and nutrient-poor to support such abundance. Within the tissues of reef-building corals live microscopic algae known as zooxanthellae. These single-celled organisms reside inside the coral cells, forming a close and highly efficient partnership. Protected within the coral's translucent tissue, the algae receive sunlight, carbon dioxide, and nutrients necessary for photosynthesis. In return, they produce sugars, lipids, and oxygen that nourish the coral host. This exchange of resources allows corals to obtain much of their energy directly from sunlight, despite being animals. The sugars produced by the algae fuel the coral's metabolism, enabling it to grow, reproduce, and deposit calcium carbonate skeletons. In many reef environments, this partnership provides up to 90% of the coral's energy needs. The presence of zooxanthellae also contributes to the coral's coloration. Their pigments, including chlorophyll and other light-absorbing compounds, create shades of brown, green, and golden hues. Corals may also produce fluorescent proteins that glow in subtle shades of blue, green, or pink under certain lighting conditions. These pigments can help regulate light exposure, protecting both the coral and its microscopic partners from excessive sunlight. Light is essential to this partnership. Most reef-building corals live in shallow waters, typically less than 50 meters deep, where sunlight can penetrate clearly. In these environments, the algae can photosynthesize efficiently, producing the energy required to sustain the reef. In deeper or murkier waters, where light is limited, reef-building corals are less common. Water clarity plays a vital role in maintaining this balance. Suspended sediments can block sunlight and smother coral tissues, reducing the effectiveness of photosynthesis. For this reason, healthy coral reefs are often found in areas with minimal sediment runoff, where currents help keep the water clear. Temperature also influences the stability of this partnership. Most reef-building corals thrive in a narrow temperature range, generally between 23 and 29 degrees Celsius. When water temperatures rise significantly above this range, the relationship between coral and algae can become strained. The coral may expel the algae, causing the loss of color known as bleaching. Without their symbiotic partners, corals lose a major source of energy and become more vulnerable to stress. Despite its delicate nature, this partnership has remarkable resilience. In stable conditions, coral and algae maintain a balanced exchange that supports the growth of entire reef systems. Through this cooperation, reefs are able to build vast limestone structures in waters that contain relatively low levels of dissolved nutrients. The benefits of this partnership extend beyond the coral itself. By building the reef framework, Corals create habitats that support fish, invertebrates, and countless other marine organisms. The energy captured by microscopic algae ultimately supports entire food webs, sustaining life far beyond the coral colony. Different species of zooxanthellae possess varying tolerances to light and temperature. Some strains are better suited to warmer waters, while others thrive in slightly cooler conditions. Corals may host different strains depending on their environment, allowing reefs in diverse regions to maintain stability under local conditions. The exchange between coral and algae is carefully regulated. The coral provides nutrients such as nitrogen and phosphorus, which the algae require for growth. In turn, the algae transfer organic compounds back to the coral. This continuous flow of resources allows both partners to survive in environments where either organism alone might struggle. At night, when photosynthesis ceases, corals rely more heavily on capturing plankton for nourishment. This dual feeding strategy, combining sunlight-derived energy with captured prey, provides flexibility and resilience. The reef continues to function around the clock, adapting to the changing rhythm of day and night. The partnership between coral and zooxanthellae also influences reef growth rates. In well-lit, stable environments, corals can deposit calcium carbonate more rapidly, expanding the reef structure. Over long periods, this process creates barrier reefs, fringing reefs, and atolls that shape coastlines and protect shorelines from waves. This cooperation represents a quiet balance rather than a single moment of action. Each day, algae capture sunlight, corals provide shelter, and together they build structures that endure for centuries. Their relationship demonstrates how shared resources and mutual support can sustain entire ecosystems. As you continue to drift in this calm underwater world, imagine the countless microscopic exchanges taking place within the coral tissues below. Sunlight is transformed into energy, nutrients flow between partners, and the reef grows slowly, layer by layer. Allow your breathing to remain slow and even, mirroring the steady rhythm of this partnership. In the gentle movement of water and light, the coral reef persists, a living system sustained by cooperation, balance, and the quiet sharing of energy. Take a slow breath and imagine drifting outward, gaining a wider view of the reef as it stretches across the seafloor. What appears timeless and unchanging is, in truth, the result of countless small actions repeated over long spans of time. Coral reefs are built gradually, layer by layer, as living polyps deposit calcium carbonate beneath their bodies, creating vast limestone structures that can extend for hundreds of kilometers. Reef formation begins when coral larvae settle onto a stable surface in shallow, sunlit waters. These surfaces may include submerged rocks, ancient limestone platforms, or the remnants of earlier coral structures. Once attached, the larvae transform into polyps and begin secreting their protective skeletons. Through asexual reproduction, the initial polyp produces clones of itself, forming a growing colony that spreads across the available surface. As colonies expand, their skeletons fuse with those of neighboring colonies, creating a continuous reef framework. This framework becomes the foundation for future growth, supporting new coral settlements and providing habitat for a wide range of marine organisms. Over time, the accumulation of calcium carbonate forms massive reef structures that can be observed from space. There are three primary types of coral reefs: fringing reefs, barrier reefs, and atolls. Fringing reefs develop directly along coastlines, forming a shallow platform that extends from the shore into the sea. These reefs are the most common type and are often found in regions where coastal waters remain clear and warm. Barrier reefs form farther offshore, separated from land by a deeper lagoon. The Great Barrier Reef, located off the coast of Queensland, Australia, is the largest example of this type. Stretching for more than 2,300 kilometers, it is composed of thousands of individual reefs and islands, creating one of the most extensive reef systems on Earth. Atolls are ring-shaped reefs that encircle a central lagoon. They form on the remains of submerged volcanic islands, where coral growth continues upward as the underlying land gradually subsides. Or the result is a circular reef structure that encloses calm, shallow waters, often supporting unique ecosystems within the lagoon. Reef growth depends on a balance between construction and erosion. While corals deposit calcium carbonate, other organisms break down reef material through grazing, boring, and chemical processes. Parrotfish, for example, scrape algae from coral surfaces, ingesting small amounts of limestone that are later excreted as fine sand. This sand contributes to the formation of tropical beaches and islands. Storms and strong wave action can also break coral branches and redistribute fragments across the reef. In many cases, these fragments reattach to the substrate and continue growing, contributing to reef expansion. This natural fragmentation allows reefs to recover from physical disturbances and maintain structural diversity. Sea level changes influence reef development as well. When sea levels rise gradually, coral growth can keep pace, building upward toward the sunlight. If sea levels fall or rise too quickly, however, reefs may struggle to maintain optimal conditions. The balance between water depth, light availability, and growth rate plays a crucial role in long-term reef stability. Sedimentation can affect reef formation by covering coral surfaces and reducing light penetration. Fine sediments may settle on polyps, interfering with feeding and photosynthesis. In healthy reef environments, currents and wave action help remove these sediments, keeping coral surfaces clear. The shape and structure of a reef influence water movement, which in turn affects nutrient distribution and oxygen levels. Channels and gaps in the reef allow currents to flow through, delivering plankton and removing waste products. This circulation supports a dynamic environment where many species can thrive. Reef flats, located in shallow areas, are often exposed to strong sunlight and wave action. Corals in these regions tend to be hardy and adapted to fluctuating conditions. In contrast, deeper reef slopes support species that prefer more stable temperatures and reduced light intensity. This variation in conditions creates distinct zones, each with its own community of organisms. Over long periods, coral reefs can become geological features of great significance. The limestone structures they produce may eventually form islands or become part of continental rock formations. Fossilized reefs provide valuable records of past ocean conditions, preserving evidence of ancient marine environments. Reefs also act as natural barriers that protect coastlines from wave energy. By absorbing and dissipating the force of incoming waves, they reduce coastal erosion and help maintain sandy beaches. This protective function is especially important for low-lying islands and coastal communities. The growth of coral reefs is not uniform. Some areas expand rapidly under favorable conditions, while others grow slowly due to shading, competition, or limited water flow. This variation creates a mosaic of habitats, supporting diverse communities of fish and invertebrates that depend on the reef for shelter and food. As you continue to float above this intricate landscape, imagine the steady passage of time beneath you. Year after year, polyps deposit thin layers of calcium carbonate. Storms reshape the reef's contours, and currents carry nutrients through its channels. Through patience and persistence, the reef becomes a vast structure built by countless small contributions. Allow your breathing to remain slow and even, mirroring the gradual rhythm of reef formation. In this quiet underwater world, growth is measured not in moments, but in generations, and the reef stands as a testament to the power of steady, collective effort. Take a slow, calming breath and imagine drifting gently along the reef's edge, where countless forms of life move in quiet harmony. Coral reefs are often called the rainforests of the sea because of their extraordinary biodiversity. Within a relatively small area, reefs support an immense variety of species, each occupying a unique role in maintaining the balance of this intricate ecosystem. Fish are among the most visible inhabitants of coral reefs. Brightly colored species weave through coral branches, hover above sandy patches, and glide along the reef slopes. Parrotfish graze on algae, growing on coral surfaces, helping prevent algae from overwhelming the reef. Butterfly fish feed on coral polyps and small invertebrates, while angelfish browse on sponges and tunicates. Each species contributes to the overall health of the reef by controlling populations and recycling nutrients. Small, cryptic fish find shelter within the reef's crevices. Gobies perch on coral heads, darting quickly to capture passing plankton. Blennies peek from tiny holes, retreating at the first sign of danger. These small fish play an important role in the reef food web, serving as prey for larger predators, while helping control populations of algae and invertebrates. Crustaceans form another vital component of reef communities. Cleaner shrimp establish stations where fish pause to have parasites removed from their scales and gills. This mutualistic interaction benefits both species. The shrimp gain food, and the fish maintain better health. Crabs scuttle across the reef surface, scavenging organic material and helping keep the environment clean. Mollusks, including clams, snails, and octopuses, contribute to reef diversity in both visible and subtle ways. Giant clams host symbiotic algae within their tissues, similar to corals, allowing them to obtain energy from sunlight. Their iridescent mantles shimmer in shades of blue, green, and gold. Octopuses use their remarkable camouflage abilities to blend seamlessly with coral and rock, avoiding predators while hunting for crustaceans and small fish. Sponges are among the oldest and most efficient filter feeders in reef ecosystems. By drawing water through their porous bodies, they remove bacteria, plankton, and organic particles. This filtration helps maintain water clarity, which is essential for coral health. Sponges also provide habitat for small organisms, creating microenvironments within their channels. Echinoderms, such as sea stars, sea urchins, and sea cucumbers, play important roles in reef maintenance. Sea urchins graze on algae, preventing overgrowth that could smother corals. Sea cucumbers process sand and sediment, breaking down organic material and recycling nutrients. Their slow, methodical movement contributes to the health of the reef floor. Reef-building corals themselves create the structural complexity that supports biodiversity. Branching corals provide shelter for juvenile fish, protecting them from predators. Massive corals form stable platforms for algae and invertebrates. Plate corals create shaded areas that support species adapted to lower light levels. This architectural diversity allows many species to coexist within a limited space. Predators are also an essential part of reef ecosystems. Groupers and snappers patrol the reef, controlling populations of smaller fish. Moray eels hide within crevices, emerging to hunt at night. Reef sharks, though often elusive, help maintain ecological balance by removing weak or diseased individuals from fish populations. The reef food web is a complex network of interactions. Primary producers, including algae and symbiotic microorganisms, capture energy from sunlight. Herbivores consume algae, preventing excessive growth. Carnivores prey on herbivores and smaller predators, maintaining balance within the system. Decomposers break down organic matter, returning nutrients to the environment where they can be reused. Many reef organisms exhibit specialized adaptations that allow them to thrive in this competitive environment. Some fish have flattened bodies that enable them to navigate narrow coral branches. Others possess suction cup-like fins that allow them to cling to rocks in strong currents. Camouflage, mimicry, and nocturnal behavior help species avoid predators and exploit available resources. Coral reefs also serve as important nursery grounds for many marine species. Juvenile fish find shelter among coral branches, where they are protected from larger predators. As they grow, they venture into open waters or migrate to other habitats, contributing to marine ecosystems beyond the reef itself. Seasonal changes can influence reef communities. Variations in water temperature, currents, and plankton availability affect feeding patterns and reproductive cycles. Some species gather in large groups during spawning periods, releasing eggs and sperm into the water column. These events provide food for other organisms, reinforcing the interconnected nature of reef life. Symbiotic relationships are common throughout the reef. Cleaner fish remove parasites from larger species. Certain crabs live among coral branches, defending their hosts from predators in exchange for shelter. These partnerships demonstrate how cooperation can enhance survival in a complex environment. As you continue to drift peacefully above the reef, imagine the countless interactions unfolding below. Fish graze, shrimp clean, sponges filter, and corals build, each organism contributing to the balance of the ecosystem. The reef thrives not through dominance by a single species, but through the cooperation and coexistence of many. Let your breathing remain slow and steady, mirroring the gentle rhythm of this living community. In the quiet movement of fins and the soft sway of coral branches, the reef endures as a sanctuary of diversity, sustained by countless small acts of survival and cooperation. Take a slow, steady breath and imagine drifting quietly above a coral reef as the gentle current carries tiny particles through the water. Though the reef may appear tranquil, an intricate exchange of energy and nutrients is constantly unfolding. Every organism, from microscopic algae to large predatory fish, plays a role in a complex food web that sustains the entire ecosystem. At the foundation of this web are primary producers, organisms that capture energy from sunlight. On coral reefs, these include symbiotic algae living within coral tissues, free-living phytoplankton drifting in the water, and various forms of macroalgae attached to rocks and coral surfaces. Through photosynthesis, these producers convert sunlight, carbon dioxide, and nutrients into organic matter, forming the base of the reef's energy supply. herbivores occupy the next level of the food web. Parrotfish, surgeonfish, and rabbitfish graze on algae growing across the reef, preventing it from overwhelming coral colonies. By scraping and consuming algae, these fish help maintain open surfaces where coral larvae can settle and grow. Sea urchins also play an important role in controlling algal growth, using their specialized mouthparts to graze across rocky surfaces. Small invertebrates contribute to nutrient cycling in subtle but essential ways. Worms, amphipods, and tiny crustaceans break down organic debris, converting it into forms that can be reused by other organisms. This process of decomposition ensures that nutrients remain available within the reef system rather than being lost to the open ocean. Plankton forms another key component of the reef food web. Zooplankton, tiny drifting animals, feed on phytoplankton and microscopic organic particles. In turn, they are consumed by small fish and filter-feeding invertebrates, such as sponges and soft corals. Many reef organisms extend their feeding structures into the current at night, capturing plankton as it drifts past. Filter feeders play a vital role in maintaining water quality. Sponges, bivalves, and certain tunicates draw water through their bodies, removing suspended particles and microorganisms. This filtration helps keep the water clear, allowing sunlight to penetrate and support photosynthesis. In this way, filter feeders contribute indirectly to coral health. Predators occupy higher levels of the reef food web. Groupers, snappers, and barracudas hunt smaller fish, maintaining balanced populations. Moray eels emerge from crevices to capture prey, while octopuses use stealth and camouflage to ambush crustaceans and mollusks. These predators help regulate species numbers, preventing any single group from dominating the ecosystem. Scavengers provide another important service. Crabs, shrimp, and certain fish consume dead organisms and organic waste, preventing the accumulation of decaying material. This cleanup process reduces the risk of disease and helps recycle nutrients back into the system. Coral reefs are remarkably efficient at retaining nutrients. In many tropical regions, surrounding waters are relatively low in nitrogen and phosphorus. Within the reef, however, nutrients are captured, reused, and recycled through biological interactions. Waste products released by fish and invertebrates are taken up by algae and microorganisms, which are then consumed by other organisms, continuing the cycle. Symbiotic relationships enhance this efficiency. The partnership between coral polyps and their microscopic algae allows energy to be shared directly within the coral tissues. Similarly, some fish form mutualistic relationships with invertebrates, exchanging food scraps for cleaning services. These interactions reduce waste and ensure that available resources are used effectively. The movement of water across the reef supports nutrient distribution. Currents deliver plankton and dissolved nutrients while removing waste products. Channels within the reef structure allow water to circulate, bringing oxygen to organisms living deep within crevices. This constant exchange helps maintain stable conditions throughout the reef. Nightfall brings subtle changes to feeding patterns. Many reef organisms are nocturnal, emerging under the cover of darkness to feed. Plankton rises toward the surface at night, providing a rich food source for corals and other filter feeders. The reef takes on a different rhythm after sunset, with feeding tentacles extending and nocturnal hunters patrolling the shadows. Seasonal variations can influence nutrient availability. Changes in currents, water temperature, and weather patterns affect plankton populations and algae growth. Reef organisms respond by adjusting feeding behaviors and reproductive cycles, ensuring that energy flow remains balanced throughout the year. Disturbances to the food web can have far-reaching effects. A decline in herbivorous fish, for example, may allow algae to overgrow coral surfaces, reducing coral health and limiting space for new growth. Similarly, the loss of predators can lead to imbalances that ripple through the ecosystem. The stability of coral reefs depends on the presence of diverse species fulfilling their ecological roles. As you continue to drift in this calm underwater world, imagine the steady flow of energy passing from sunlight to algae, from algae to herbivores, and from prey to predator. Nutrients cycle endlessly, supporting life in a delicate balance that has endured for centuries. Let your breathing remain slow and even, mirroring the quiet exchange unfolding below. In the gentle movement of water and the soft glow of filtered sunlight, the reef persists, sustained by cooperation, recycling, and the continuous flow of energy through its living network. Take a slow, calming breath and imagine the reef at dusk, as the last rays of sunlight fade into soft shades of blue. The water grows still, and a quiet anticipation settles over the coral colonies below. Though the reef appears peaceful, it is preparing for one of the most remarkable natural events in the ocean, the synchronized release of coral spawn. Many reef-building corals reproduce through a process known as broadcast spawning. During specific times of the year, often linked to water temperature, day length, and lunar cycles, coral colonies release eggs and sperm into the water column. These tiny reproductive bundles rise slowly toward the surface, where fertilization occurs. The timing of this event is carefully coordinated, with many colonies releasing their gametes within the same night, increasing the likelihood of successful fertilization. The synchronization of spawning events can extend across entire reef systems. On some reefs, multiple coral species release their gametes over several consecutive nights, each species following its own precise schedule. This staggering of spawning times reduces competition and enhances the survival chances of developing larvae. Fertilized eggs develop into free-swimming larvae called planulae. These microscopic larvae drift with ocean currents, sometimes traveling considerable distances before settling. During this journey, they rely on stored energy reserves while searching for suitable surfaces on which to attach. The selection of a stable, well-lit substrate is essential for their survival and future growth. When a planular larva finds an appropriate surface, it undergoes a transformation. It attaches to the substrate and develops into a new coral polyp. This single polyp begins secreting a calcium carbonate skeleton, and through asexual reproduction, produces clones of itself. Over time, a new colony forms, contributing to the expansion and renewal of the reef. In addition to broadcast spawning, some coral species reproduce through brooding. In this method, fertilization occurs within the parent polyp, and fully developed larvae are released into the water. Because these larvae are more developed at the time of release, they often settle more quickly, increasing their chances of survival in suitable habitats. Asexual reproduction also plays a vital role in reef growth. Coral colonies can expand through budding, where new polyps form from existing ones, gradually enlarging the colony. Fragmentation provides another method of reproduction. Storms or strong wave action may break pieces of coral from a colony. If these fragments land in favorable conditions, they can reattach and continue growing. forming new colonies genetically identical to the original. The timing of coral spawning is influenced by environmental cues. Water temperature serves as an important signal, with spawning often occurring after periods of seasonal warming. Lunar cycles provide additional guidance, as many species release gametes a few nights after a full moon. The increased light during these nights may help synchronize the event across vast areas. Calm sea conditions also enhance spawning success. Gentle currents allow gametes to remain concentrated near the surface, improving fertilization rates. Strong waves or storms can disperse reproductive material too quickly, reducing the likelihood of successful union. The release of coral spawn creates a temporary abundance of food for other reef organisms. Fish, invertebrates, and plankton feeders gather to consume excess gametes and larvae. While this predation reduces the number of surviving larvae, it also integrates spawning events into the broader reef food web, recycling nutrients and energy. Despite the challenges faced by larvae, the sheer number released during spawning events ensures that some will survive. This strategy increases the resilience of coral populations, allowing reefs to recover from disturbances and maintain genetic diversity across regions. The settlement of new coral colonies is influenced by chemical signals released by crustose coralline algae, a type of hard pink algae that grows on reef surfaces. These signals encourage larvae to attach in areas where conditions are favorable for growth. This subtle communication helps guide new colonies to suitable habitats within the reef. Nighttime plays a significant role in many reproductive processes. Darkness reduces the risk of visual predators consuming gametes and larvae, while calmer conditions improve fertilization success. As you imagine the reef beneath the moonlit surface, picture tiny bundles rising slowly through the water, carrying the potential for future generations. Reproductive cycles vary among coral species, ensuring that the reef continues to grow and renew itself throughout the year. Some species spawn annually, while others may reproduce more frequently. This diversity of reproductive strategies helps maintain the stability and continuity of reef ecosystems. As you continue to drift in this peaceful underwater world, imagine the quiet persistence of coral life. Colonies release their spawn into the gentle currents. Larvae settle onto sunlit surfaces, and new polyps begin their slow work of building calcium carbonate skeletons. Through these cycles, the reef endures, renewing itself with each passing season. Let your breathing remain slow and steady, mirroring the natural rhythms of the reef. In the calm darkness of the ocean night, life continues its patient cycle, releasing, drifting, settling, and growing, ensuring that the coral reef remains a living structure, shaped by time and quiet continuity. Take a slow, steady breath and imagine drifting downward along the gentle slope of a coral reef. As you descend, the quality of light begins to change. Sunbeams that once danced brightly near the surface soften into cooler shades of blue. This gradual shift in light, depth, and water movement creates distinct zones within the reef, each supporting communities adapted to specific conditions. The reef flat is the shallowest zone, often located just below the water surface on the seaward side of the reef. Here, corals experience intense sunlight, fluctuating temperatures, and strong wave action. Species that thrive in this zone are resilient and adapted to changing conditions. Many exhibit compact growth forms that resist breakage and reduce exposure to waves. Tide pools may form on reef flats during low tide, temporarily isolating small pockets of water. Organisms living in these pools must tolerate variations in temperature, salinity, and oxygen levels. Some fish and invertebrates find shelter in crevices or beneath coral overhangs to avoid desiccation and heat stress during these periods. Beyond the reef flat lies the reef crest, a narrow zone where waves break with the greatest force. This area acts as a natural barrier, absorbing wave energy and protecting the calmer waters behind it. Corals in the reef crest are typically robust and low-growing, able to withstand the constant surge of water. Encrusting corals and coralline algae often dominate this zone, binding the reef structure together. On the sheltered side of the crest lies the lagoon, a relatively calm area with sandy bottoms and scattered coral formations. Lagoons provide important nursery habitats for juvenile fish and invertebrates. Seagrass beds may flourish here, stabilizing sediment and offering additional shelter. The gentle conditions of lagoons allow delicate species to grow without the stress of heavy wave action. As you drift toward deeper water, you enter the reef slope, sometimes called the forereef. This zone descends gradually into the open ocean and supports a diverse array of coral species. Light levels remain sufficient for photosynthesis, but wave action is reduced. Branching and plate-like corals often thrive here, maximizing exposure to available sunlight. The upper reef slope is rich in biodiversity. Fish schools hover above coral heads, while invertebrates occupy crevices and ledges. Water movement in this zone delivers plankton and oxygen, supporting active feeding and growth. The interplay between sunlight and water flow creates ideal conditions for many reef organisms. Further down the slope, light becomes dimmer and temperatures more stable. Corals adapted to lower light levels grow in flattened or plate-like forms that capture available sunlight efficiently. Soft corals and sponges become more prominent, filtering nutrients from the passing currents. This deeper zone supports species that are less tolerant of strong light, but well suited to steady conditions. At the base of the reef slope lies the deep reef, where sunlight is limited and reef-building corals become less common. Here, organisms rely more on plankton and organic particles for nourishment. The reef structure transitions into rocky outcrops and sediment-covered surfaces, marking the boundary between the vibrant reef and the deeper ocean floor. Water clarity influences how deeply sunlight can penetrate. In clear tropical waters, light may reach depths of 50 meters or more, allowing photosynthetic organisms to thrive. In areas with higher sediment levels, light penetration is reduced, and reef zones become compressed into shallower depths. Currents shape the distribution of reef zones by influencing sediment movement and nutrient flow. Areas exposed to strong currents often support filter feeders that capture suspended particles. Sheltered zones allow fine sediments to settle, creating habitats suitable for burrowing organisms and seagrass meadows. Each reef zone supports a unique community of organisms adapted to its specific conditions. Fish species may move between zones throughout the day, feeding in one area and seeking shelter in another. This movement connects the zones, ensuring the flow of energy and nutrients across the reef system. Nightfall brings subtle changes to reef zones. Nocturnal species emerge from hiding places, and plankton rises in the water column. The reef crest, once dominated by wave energy and bright light, becomes a quieter environment, where feeding and hunting occur under the cover of darkness. Seasonal variations can influence reef zones as well. Changes in water temperature and weather patterns may alter current strength and sediment distribution. Coral growth and species composition may shift gradually in response, reflecting the dynamic nature of reef environments. As you continue drifting along the reef's contours, imagine the transitions between zones, from the sunlit shallows to the dimmer depths, from wave-swept crests to tranquil lagoons. Each zone contributes to the reef's overall stability, supporting life in ways both visible and subtle. Let your breathing remain slow and even, matching the gentle descent through layers of light and shadow. The reef exists not as a single uniform structure, but as a series of interconnected habitats, each shaped by depth, sunlight, and the quiet movement of water. Take a slow, steady breath and imagine rising gently above the reef, ascending through clear blue water until the vastness of the ocean stretches in every direction. From this quiet vantage point, coral reefs appear not as isolated formations, but as part of a global network of living structures shaped by temperature, sunlight, water chemistry, and the steady rhythms of the sea. Coral reefs are primarily found in tropical and subtropical regions where ocean temperatures remain warm throughout the year. Most reef-building corals thrive in waters between 23 and 29 degrees Celsius. These conditions are typically located between 30 degrees north and 30 degrees south of the equator, forming a broad belt known as the tropical reef zone. The Indo-Pacific region contains the greatest concentration of coral reefs on Earth. Stretching from the eastern coast of Africa, across the Indian Ocean, and into the Pacific, this region supports thousands of reef systems. The waters here are warm, clear, and rich in the environmental stability required for reef growth. Countries such as Indonesia, the Philippines, Papua New Guinea, and Australia host extensive reef habitats that support remarkable marine diversity. The Great Barrier Reef, located off the coast of Queensland, Australia, is the largest coral reef system in the world. Extending for more than 2,300 kilometers, it consists of nearly 3,000 individual reefs and hundreds of islands. This vast structure supports thousands of marine species and plays a crucial role in coastal protection and tourism. In the Central Pacific, coral atolls form graceful rings around tranquil lagoons. These atolls are common in regions such as the Marshall Islands, the Maldives, and parts of French Polynesia. Their circular shapes create sheltered waters that support unique ecosystems, including seagrass beds and nursery habitats for fish. The Caribbean Sea is home to another major reef region. Coral reefs here fringe the coasts of countries such as Belize, Mexico, and the Bahamas. The Mesoamerican Barrier Reef, stretching along the coasts of Mexico, Belize, Guatemala, and Honduras, is the second largest barrier reef system in the world. These reefs support vibrant marine life and protect coastal communities from wave energy. Along the eastern coast of Africa, reefs extend from the Red Sea down to Mozambique and Madagascar. The Red Sea is known for its high salinity and clear waters, which support resilient coral species. These reefs thrive in conditions that differ from many other reef regions, demonstrating the adaptability of coral ecosystems within suitable environmental ranges. Coral reefs are less common in the eastern Pacific Ocean, where colder currents and nutrient-rich upwellings create conditions less favorable for reef-building corals. However, reefs do exist in areas such as the Galapagos Islands and parts of Central America. where localized conditions support coral growth. Water clarity is a key factor in reef distribution. Regions with heavy sediment runoff from rivers often lack extensive reef systems, as suspended particles block sunlight and smother coral tissues. For this reason, major reefs are typically found away from large river deltas or in areas where currents disperse sediments. Ocean chemistry also influences reef distribution. Coral skeletons are formed from calcium carbonate, which requires suitable levels of dissolved calcium and carbonate ions in seawater. Stable chemical conditions support the formation of strong reef structures, while significant changes can affect coral growth rates. Depth plays an important role in determining where reefs can form. Most reef-building corals require sufficient sunlight for their symbiotic algae to photosynthesize. As a result, reefs are generally found in waters shallower than 50 meters, although some species can exist at greater depths in exceptionally clear water. Isolated reefs can form around oceanic islands, where volcanic activity or uplifted seabeds provide stable substrates for coral settlement. Over time, these reefs may expand into fringing reefs, barrier reefs, or atolls, depending on local conditions such as sea level and geological changes. Seasonal weather patterns influence reef environments across different regions. Monsoons, cyclones, and storms can reshape reef structures, redistributing coral fragments and sediments. While these events can cause damage, they also contribute to reef renewal by creating new surfaces for coral settlement. Human activity has influenced reef distribution in some areas. Coastal development, pollution, and sediment runoff can reduce water quality, limiting coral growth near populated regions. In contrast, marine protected areas help preserve reef ecosystems by reducing fishing pressure and maintaining ecological balance. Despite regional differences, coral reefs share common environmental requirements: warm temperatures, clear water, stable salinity, and abundant sunlight. These conditions create a narrow band of suitable habitat across the globe, making reefs both precious and vulnerable. As you continue to float peacefully above the ocean, imagine the vast network of reefs stretching across tropical seas. From the lagoons of the Maldives to the barrier reefs of Australia and the vibrant coral gardens of the Caribbean, each reef exists within its own local environment, yet all are connected by the shared rhythms of tides, currents, and sunlight. Let your breathing remain slow and even, matching the steady pulse of the ocean below. In this quiet awareness, the global presence of coral reefs becomes clear, a delicate band of life encircling the planet's warmest waters, sustained by balance, stability, and the gentle persistence of countless coral polyps. Take a slow, steady breath and imagine drifting above a coral reef at dawn. The water is calm, and soft light reveals the intricate patterns of coral colonies below. Although reefs are resilient systems shaped by natural forces such as storms and currents, they are also sensitive to changes in their environment. Understanding the pressures they face helps guide efforts to protect and preserve these remarkable ecosystems. One of the most significant pressures on coral reefs is rising sea temperature. Reef-building corals thrive within a narrow temperature range, and prolonged exposure to unusually warm water can disrupt the partnership between corals and their symbiotic algae. When this partnership is strained, corals may expel the algae, leading to a loss of color known as bleaching. While bleached corals can recover if conditions return to normal, extended stress reduces their energy reserves and can affect growth and reproduction. Water quality is another important factor influencing reef health. Runoff from land can carry sediments, nutrients, and pollutants into coastal waters. Excess sediment clouds the water, reducing sunlight penetration and settling on coral surfaces. Nutrient enrichment from fertilizers and wastewater can encourage rapid algae growth, which may outcompete corals for space and light. Physical damage to reefs can occur through human activities such as anchoring, dredging, and unregulated coastal construction. Coral structures are fragile, and direct contact can break colonies that have taken decades to grow. Even small disturbances can create openings that allow algae to colonize exposed surfaces. Marine debris, including discarded fishing gear and plastics, poses additional risks. Entangled materials can smother corals or abrade their tissues. Over time, debris may break down into smaller particles that settle onto reef surfaces, contributing to sedimentation and stress. Despite these pressures, many conservation efforts are underway to support reef resilience. Marine protected areas restrict certain activities, such as fishing and anchoring, allowing ecosystems to recover and maintain biodiversity. These protected zones help preserve breeding populations and sustain fish stocks that benefit surrounding areas. Sustainable fishing practices aim to maintain balanced reef ecosystems. By protecting herbivorous fish and limiting destructive fishing methods, communities can help ensure that algae remain under control and coral habitats remain viable. Education and local stewardship play important roles in promoting responsible resource use. Efforts to improve water quality include managing agricultural runoff, upgrading wastewater treatment systems, and restoring coastal vegetation such as mangroves and wetlands. These natural buffers filter sediments and pollutants before they reach the ocean, helping maintain the clear water conditions essential for coral health. Reef restoration projects are being developed in various regions. Coral nurseries cultivate fragments in controlled environments before transplanting them onto damaged reefs. These initiatives support reef recovery by accelerating coral growth and increasing structural complexity. While restoration cannot replace large-scale conservation, it can help rebuild local reef habitats. Scientific monitoring provides valuable information about reef conditions. Researchers track water temperature, coral health, and species diversity to identify trends and guide conservation strategies. This data helps communities and policymakers make informed decisions to protect reef ecosystems. Community involvement is essential for long-term reef protection. Coastal residents, fishers, and tourism operators often depend on reefs for their livelihoods. By participating in conservation programs and adopting sustainable practices, communities help safeguard the ecosystems that support them. Tourism, when managed responsibly, can contribute to reef conservation. Guidelines that promote reef-safe sunscreen, controlled visitor access, and environmental education help reduce physical and chemical impacts. Informed visitors can play a role in protecting reefs by avoiding contact with corals and supporting conservation initiatives. Natural disturbances, such as storms and cyclones, will continue to shape reef environments. Healthy reefs are better able to recover from these events due to their biodiversity and structural complexity. Conservation efforts aim to maintain this resilience by protecting the ecological balance that allows reefs to rebuild after disturbances. As you continue to drift peacefully above the reef, imagine the many people working quietly to protect these underwater landscapes. Scientists monitor reef health, communities manage resources, and conservation programs restore damaged areas. Each effort contributes to the continued presence of coral reefs in warm, clear waters around the world. Let your breathing remain slow and even, matching the gentle rhythm of the ocean. In this calm awareness, the reef persists, shaped by natural forces, supported by careful stewardship, and sustained by the delicate balance between environmental stability and human responsibility. Take a slow, gentle breath and imagine yourself drifting above one of the most vast and intricate coral reef systems on Earth. Beneath the clear waters off the northeastern coast of Australia lies the Great Barrier Reef, a living structure so expansive that it can be seen from space. Stretching for more than 2,300 kilometers along the coast of Queensland, this reef system is composed of nearly 3,000 individual reefs and around 900 islands, forming a mosaic of habitats that support extraordinary marine diversity. The Great Barrier Reef occupies the shallow continental shelf of the Coral Sea. Its location provides ideal conditions for coral growth, including warm temperatures, abundant sunlight, and generally clear waters. The reef system includes fringing reefs along the mainland and islands, barrier reefs separated from shore by lagoons, and coral cays formed from accumulated sand and coral debris. Water temperature across the reef typically ranges between 24 and 30 degrees Celsius, providing a stable environment for reef-building corals. Seasonal variations occur, but the overall climate remains favorable for coral growth throughout the year. Ocean currents deliver nutrients and plankton while helping maintain water clarity by dispersing sediments. The reef's immense size creates a wide variety of habitats. Shallow reef flats, sheltered lagoons, and deeper outer slopes each support distinct communities of organisms. Seagrass meadows flourish in calm lagoon waters, providing feeding grounds for species such as green sea turtles and dugongs. Mangrove forests along the coast serve as nurseries for juvenile fish and crustaceans, linking coastal ecosystems with offshore reefs. Fish diversity within the Great Barrier Reef is remarkable. Thousands of species inhabit its waters, ranging from small damselfish sheltering among coral branches to large pelagic species that patrol the reef's outer edges. Reef fish contribute to ecological balance by grazing algae, controlling invertebrate populations, and serving as prey for larger predators. Invertebrates are equally abundant. Giant clams anchor themselves to reef surfaces, their mantles displaying iridescent colors under filtered sunlight. Sea cucumbers move slowly across sandy bottoms, recycling organic material and maintaining sediment health. Crustaceans, including crabs and shrimp, occupy crevices and overhangs, contributing to the reef's complex food web. The reef also supports numerous species of marine reptiles. Sea turtles use the reef for feeding and resting, while some species return to nearby beaches to nest. These reptiles play important roles in maintaining healthy seagrass beds and reef ecosystems through their grazing habits. Bird life is closely connected to the reef environment. Seabirds nest on coral cays and islands, feeding on fish and marine invertebrates. Their guano provides nutrients that support island vegetation, demonstrating the interconnected nature of reef and terrestrial ecosystems. The Great Barrier Reef acts as a natural barrier that protects the Queensland coastline from wave energy. By absorbing the force of incoming waves, the reef reduces coastal erosion and helps maintain sandy beaches. This protective function is especially important during storms, when the reef dissipates wave energy before it reaches the shore. Tourism is a significant aspect of the reef's human connection. Visitors from around the world travel to experience its clear waters, vibrant marine life, and opportunities for snorkeling and diving. Responsible tourism practices help minimize environmental impact while supporting local economies and conservation efforts. Scientific research plays a vital role in understanding and protecting the reef. Monitoring programs track coral health, water quality, and species populations. This information helps guide management strategies and conservation initiatives aimed at preserving the reef's ecological balance. Marine protected areas within the Great Barrier Reef. Marine Park regulate activities such as fishing, anchoring, and resource extraction. Zoning systems designate specific areas for conservation, recreation, and sustainable use. These measures help maintain biodiversity while allowing people to benefit from the reef's resources in a responsible manner. Natural events such as cyclones and seasonal storms periodically reshape the reef. Strong waves may break coral branches and redistribute sediments. While these disturbances can cause localized damage, healthy reefs often recover over time through coral growth and larval settlement. The reef's complexity extends beyond its visible structures. Beneath the surface lies a network of channels and passages that guide water flow, delivering oxygen and nutrients to diverse habitats. This circulation supports the reef's productivity and helps maintain stable environmental conditions. As you continue to drift peacefully above this vast underwater landscape, imagine the countless coral colonies building their skeletons, fish weaving through coral gardens, and seagrass meadows swaying gently in the current. The Great Barrier Reef exists as both a single connected system and a collection of individual habitats, each contributing to the whole. Let your breathing remain slow and even, matching the steady rhythm of the ocean. In this quiet awareness, the reef stretches beyond the horizon, a living structure shaped by time, sustained by balance, and supported by the gentle persistence of life beneath the waves. Take a slow, gentle breath and imagine the sun slipping below the horizon as the reef transitions into evening. The bright colors of the day soften into shades of blue and silver, and the water grows calm. Though the reef may appear to be settling into rest, nightfall brings a subtle transformation. Many organisms emerge from hiding, and the reef begins a different rhythm of activity under the cover of darkness. As daylight fades, diurnal fish retreat into crevices and coral branches to rest. Parrotfish secrete a thin mucus cocoon around their bodies, which may help mask their scent from nocturnal predators. Other fish wedge themselves into tight spaces, using the reef's structure as protection while they remain still through the night. With the departure of daytime activity, nocturnal species begin to emerge. Soldierfish and squirrelfish leave their sheltered caves, their large eyes adapted to low light conditions. These fish move cautiously through the reef, feeding on small crustaceans and plankton that drift in the current. Their movements are deliberate and unhurried, reflecting the calm of the nighttime environment. Moray eels glide from their rocky shelters, tasting the water with sensitive nostrils as they search for prey. Their elongated bodies allow them to navigate narrow crevices, where they hunt fish and invertebrates. Octopuses also become more active at night, using their remarkable camouflage to blend with rocks and coral as they explore the reef in search of food. Many invertebrates extend feeding structures after dark. Feather stars unfurl delicate arms to capture plankton, while sea urchins venture from hiding places to graze on algae. Coral polyps, which may remain partially retracted during the day, often extend their tentacles fully at night, taking advantage of the increased availability of plankton. Bioluminescence adds a subtle glow to the nighttime reef. Certain plankton emit brief flashes of light when disturbed, creating tiny sparks in the water. Some organisms produce a steady luminescence, which may serve purposes such as communication, camouflage, or predator avoidance. These faint lights contribute to the reef's quiet beauty after sunset. The absence of strong sunlight changes the behavior of many reef inhabitants. Predators that rely on vision during the day give way to species adapted to darkness. Nocturnal hunters often depend on heightened senses of smell, touch, or vibration detection to locate prey. This shift in activity allows different species to share the same habitat without direct competition. Water movement at night often becomes gentler, allowing plankton to rise closer to the surface. This nightly vertical migration provides a rich food source for filter feeders and small fish. The reef's food web continues to function, with energy flowing through the ecosystem, even as the surface waters appear still. Sound carries differently at night. The steady crackling produced by snapping shrimp becomes more noticeable, creating a soft, continuous background rhythm. Fish movements, grazing activities, and the gentle flow of water over coral surfaces contribute to a subtle acoustic landscape that persists in the darkness. Some reef organisms display remarkable adaptations for nighttime survival. Certain shrimp possess transparent bodies that make them less visible to predators. Crabs may use slow, deliberate movements to avoid detection, while others rely on hard shells and defensive postures for protection. Reproductive activities often occur under the cover of darkness. Some species release eggs and sperm at night, reducing the risk of predation and increasing the likelihood of successful fertilization. The calm conditions and reduced visibility provide a safer environment for these delicate processes. As the night deepens, the reef settles into a steady rhythm. Nocturnal species feed and move through the coral branches, while resting fish remain sheltered. The reef's structure provides protection and support, allowing life to continue uninterrupted through the changing cycle of day and night. Gradually, the first hints of dawn begin to appear. Nocturnal creatures retreat to their hiding places, and diurnal species prepare to resume activity. The reef transitions once again, maintaining balance through alternating periods of rest and motion. As you continue to drift peacefully above this nighttime world, imagine the quiet persistence of life beneath the surface. Tentacles extend, plankton drift, and faint lights flicker in the darkness. The reef does not sleep. It simply changes pace, sustaining its living network through gentle cycles of activity. Let your breathing remain slow and even, matching the calm rhythm of the nocturnal sea. In the stillness of night, the coral reef endures, a living system that continues its quiet work beneath the moonlit surface. Take a slow, gentle breath and imagine yourself floating once more above a calm, sunlit reef. The water is clear, and the coral formations below appear timeless. Yet reefs have long been woven into the lives, cultures, and traditions of coastal communities around the world. For thousands of years, people have depended on coral reef ecosystems for food, protection, navigation, and inspiration. In many island nations and coastal regions, reefs serve as natural breakwaters, By absorbing wave energy, they reduce coastal erosion and help protect homes, villages, and freshwater resources from storm surges. This protective function has shaped settlement patterns, with communities often forming in areas sheltered by reef structures. Reefs have also supported traditional fishing practices for generations. Coastal communities have developed detailed knowledge of reef habitats, seasonal fish movements, and sustainable harvesting methods. Hand lines, woven traps, and small nets have been used in ways that allow fish populations to replenish. This local knowledge reflects a deep understanding of reef ecology and the importance of balance. Navigation has historically relied on reef awareness. Skilled seafarers learn to read the color of the water, to identify shallow reefs and lagoons. Changes in wave patterns and the presence of seabirds signaled nearby reef systems. These observational skills enabled safe passage through complex marine environments long before modern navigation tools existed. Coral reefs have influenced art, storytelling, and cultural identity. In many cultures, reefs are regarded as places of origin, protection, or spiritual significance. Stories passed through generations describe reefs as living entities that must be respected and cared for. This sense of stewardship has guided traditional practices that help preserve reef ecosystems. Modern societies continue to rely on reefs for food security. Reef fisheries provide a source of protein for millions of people worldwide. Small-scale fishing operations support local economies, while sustainable management helps ensure long-term availability of marine resources. Tourism has become another important connection between people and reefs. Snorkeling, diving, and glass-bottom boat tours allow visitors to experience the beauty of coral ecosystems firsthand. When managed responsibly, tourism can support conservation efforts by funding marine parks, research programs, and community initiatives. Education plays a vital role in strengthening the relationship between people and reefs. Marine education programs help students and visitors understand reef ecology, the importance of biodiversity, and the need for conservation. Increased awareness encourages responsible behavior, such as avoiding contact with corals and reducing pollution. Scientific research continues to deepen our understanding of coral reef systems. Marine biologists study coral growth, water chemistry, and species interactions to identify ways to support reef resilience. Advances in monitoring technology allow researchers to track reef conditions over time, providing valuable data for conservation planning. Community-led conservation efforts are becoming increasingly important. Local groups often participate in reef monitoring, restoration projects, and sustainable fishing initiatives. By combining traditional knowledge with scientific research, communities can develop effective strategies that protect reef ecosystems while supporting livelihoods. Responsible coastal development is another key factor in maintaining reef health. Careful planning helps reduce sediment runoff, manage wastewater, and preserve mangroves and wetlands that filter pollutants. These measures contribute to the clear water conditions essential for coral growth. Individual actions also play a role in reef protection. Choosing reef-safe sunscreen, reducing plastic use, and supporting sustainable seafood practices can help minimize human impact. Small changes in daily habits contribute to the broader effort to preserve coral ecosystems. Reefs continue to inspire scientific curiosity and creative expression. Artists, writers, and filmmakers draw upon the colors, textures, and rhythms of reef environments to create works that celebrate marine life. These expressions help share the beauty of reefs with audiences who may never experience them firsthand. As you drift peacefully above the reef, imagine the countless ways people are connected to these underwater landscapes through tradition, livelihood, research, and wonder. The reef is not only a biological structure, but also a source of protection, sustenance, and inspiration. Let your breathing remain slow and even, matching the gentle rhythm of the ocean. Beneath the surface, coral colonies continue their quiet work, building structures that shelter life and protect coastlines. Above the surface, communities and individuals contribute to the care and preservation of these remarkable ecosystems. In this calm awareness, the presence of coral reefs endures, sustained by natural balance, supported by human stewardship, and woven into the shared heritage of people who live alongside the sea. Take a slow, gentle breath and imagine drifting beyond the brightly lit reef slope into deeper, calmer waters. Here, sunlight fades into soft shades of blue and indigo, and the vibrant colors of the shallow reef give way to subtler tones. Though less visible, life continues in these deeper zones, supported by the steady flow of organic material drifting down from the reef above. The deep reef environment begins where light becomes too dim to support most reef-building corals. In these depths, organisms rely less on photosynthesis and more on plankton, detritus, and organic particles that descend through the water column. This gentle rain of material, sometimes called marine snow, consists of microscopic organisms, waste particles, and fragments of organic matter that provide nourishment for deep-dwelling species. Sponges are among the most prominent inhabitants of deeper reef zones. Their porous bodies filter large volumes of water, extracting bacteria, plankton, and organic particles. This filtration helps recycle nutrients that might otherwise be lost to the open ocean. Some deep water sponges form large branching structures that provide shelter for small fish and invertebrates. Soft corals also become more common in deeper environments. Unlike reef-building corals, they do not produce rigid calcium carbonate skeletons. Instead, they possess flexible tissues supported by tiny internal structures. Their delicate branches sway gently in the current, capturing passing plankton with feathery tentacles. Crinoids, often called feather stars, anchor themselves to rocky surfaces and extend graceful arms into the current. These arms are lined with tube feet that capture suspended particles, transferring food toward the mouth. Their slow, rhythmic movements add to the tranquil atmosphere of the deep reef. Fish species in deeper zones often display muted colors, such as silver, gray, and pale blue. These tones provide camouflage in low-light conditions, helping them avoid predators. Many deep reef fish have larger eyes adapted to dim environments, allowing them to detect subtle movements and faint light. Water temperature in deeper reef areas tends to be more stable than in shallow zones. This stability supports species that are sensitive to fluctuations. Currents deliver oxygen and nutrients while maintaining a calm, consistent environment that differs from the wave-swept shallows above. The deep reef acts as a refuge for some species during periods of environmental stress. When conditions in shallow waters become unfavorable, certain organisms may persist in deeper zones where temperatures and light levels remain stable. This vertical distribution contributes to the resilience of reef ecosystems. As you continue drifting in this dim, peaceful environment, imagine the gentle descent of marine snow, the quiet filtering of sponges, and the slow movements of feather stars in the current. Though hidden from view, these deeper zones play an essential role in recycling nutrients and sustaining life connected to the reef above. Let your breathing remain slow and steady, matching the calm stillness of the deeper ocean. In this quiet twilight, the reef's influence extends beyond the reach of sunlight, supporting a network of life sustained by patience and gentle currents. Take a slow breath and imagine listening closely to the reef. Though the ocean may seem silent from above, coral reefs are filled with gentle, continuous sound. This natural soundscape is created by countless small movements and interactions, forming an underwater chorus that plays day and night. One of the most distinctive sounds on a reef comes from snapping shrimp. These small crustaceans produce sharp, clicking noises by rapidly closing a specialized claw. The snap creates a tiny bubble that collapses with a popping sound. When thousands of snapping shrimp inhabit a reef, their combined clicks form a steady crackling that can be heard from great distances underwater. Grazing fish contribute to the reef soundscape as they scrape algae from coral and rock surfaces. Parrotfish, for example, use beak-like jaws to grind algae and coral fragments. The scraping and crunching sounds blend into the background rhythm of reef activity. Sea urchins also create subtle noises as they graze. Their mouthparts, known as Aristotle's lantern, scrape across hard surfaces, producing faint grinding sounds. Though individually quiet, the combined activity of many grazers adds to the reef's acoustic texture. Water movement itself generates sound. Waves breaking over the reef crest produce a soft, continuous roar that fades into gentle turbulence across the reef flat. Currents flowing through channels create low, steady vibrations, while bubbles rising from coral surfaces add delicate, whispering tones. These natural sounds play an important role in reef ecology. Marine larvae drifting in the open ocean can detect reef noise and use it as a cue to locate suitable habitats. The crackling and popping of a healthy reef signal the presence of shelter, food, and a stable environment. Sound patterns change between day and night. Daytime noise is often dominated by fish activity and wave action, while nighttime brings increased snapping shrimp activity and the movements of nocturnal species. This shifting acoustic rhythm reflects the reef's continuous cycle of activity. Human-made noise can influence reef soundscapes. Boat engines, construction, and other mechanical sounds may mask natural reef noise, potentially affecting the ability of larvae and fish to navigate using sound cues. Efforts to manage noise pollution in sensitive areas help preserve the natural acoustic environment. The reef's soundscape is a reminder that life continues even when unseen. Each click, scrape, and whisper of moving water represents an interaction within the ecosystem. Together, these sounds form a gentle, ever-present rhythm that mirrors the steady pulse of the ocean. As you drift peacefully above the reef, imagine listening to this quiet underwater symphony. The crackle of shrimp, the soft scraping of grazing fish, and the gentle surge of waves blend into a calming, continuous sound that encourages relaxation. Let your breathing slow to match this natural rhythm. In the subtle soundscape of the reef, the ocean speaks in soft, steady tones, offering a sense of calm that extends far beyond the shoreline. Take a slow, deep breath and imagine yourself floating effortlessly above the reef once more. The water is warm and calm, and the sunlight has softened into a gentle glow. Below you, the coral formations stretch outward like a living tapestry, each colony contributing to a structure shaped by time, patience, and quiet cooperation. Throughout this journey, you have drifted across reef flats, descended along gentle slopes, and listened to the subtle sounds of underwater life. You have observed coral polyps building their limestone homes, fish weaving through branching corals, and currents carrying nutrients through intricate channels. Each element plays a role in sustaining the balance of this remarkable ecosystem. Coral reefs exist through countless small processes working together. Polyps deposit calcium carbonate, algae capture sunlight, herbivores control algae growth, and predators maintain population balance. Nutrients cycle continuously, supporting life in waters that might otherwise appear too clear and sparse to sustain such abundance. The reef's resilience lies in its diversity. Thousands of species coexist within its structures, each adapted to specific conditions of light, depth, and water movement. From the bright shallows to the dimmer depths, life persists through cooperation and balance. Human communities remain connected to reefs through tradition, livelihood, and stewardship. Conservation efforts, sustainable practices, and education help protect these ecosystems, ensuring that future generations may continue to experience their beauty and ecological importance. As you float peacefully in this tranquil scene, imagine the reef continuing its quiet rhythms. Polyps extend their tentacles to feed. Plankton drifts in gentle currents, and soft waves pass overhead. The ocean moves with a steady pulse, mirroring the slow rhythm of your breathing. Allow your body to relax further with each breath. Feel the calm presence of the water, the steady warmth of sunlight, and the quiet persistence of life below. The reef remains a place of balance and continuity, shaped by time and sustained by cooperation. In this final moment of stillness, let the gentle rhythm of the ocean guide you toward rest. The coral reef endures beneath the surface, calm and patient. As you drift into deep, restorative sleep, take a slow, gentle breath and imagine drifting once more above a coral reef bathed in soft sunlight. The water is clear, and beams of light ripple across the seafloor in shifting patterns. The colors of the reef appear vibrant and varied, yet they are shaped by the delicate interplay between light, water, and living tissue. Sunlight entering the ocean is gradually filtered as it passes through the water. Red wavelengths are absorbed first, followed by orange and yellow, leaving blues and greens to penetrate the deepest. This filtering effect influences how reef organisms appear at different depths. In shallow water, corals may display warm tones of gold and brown, while deeper environments emphasize cooler shades of blue and violet. The colors of reef-building corals often come from microscopic algae living within their tissues. These algae contain pigments that absorb light for photosynthesis, giving corals their characteristic earthy tones. Corals also produce fluorescent proteins that glow in subtle shades of green, blue, and pink when exposed to certain wavelengths of light. These pigments may help regulate light exposure, protecting both the coral and its symbiotic algae from intense sunlight. Fish add flashes of color as they move through the reef. Bright yellows, electric blues, and bold stripes serve important purposes. Some patterns provide camouflage among coral branches, while others help fish recognize members of their own species. Coloration may also signal health, maturity, or readiness to reproduce. Many reef organisms change color depending on their environment. Some fish can alter their pigmentation to blend with their surroundings, reducing the risk of predation. Octopuses possess specialized skin cells that allow rapid color and texture changes, enabling them to mimic coral, rock, or sand. Light intensity varies throughout the day, influencing reef activity. Morning light is soft and angled, creating long shadows that provide shelter for small fish. Midday sunlight is strongest, supporting photosynthesis and highlighting the reef's textures. As evening approaches, light softens once more, and colors shift toward cooler tones. Water clarity plays a crucial role in how light reaches the reef. Clear water allows sunlight to penetrate deeply, supporting coral growth and maintaining vibrant colors. Suspended sediments, however, scatter light and create a muted appearance. Healthy reefs are often associated with clear waters that allow light to reach coral tissues. The interplay of light and shadow creates microhabitats within the reef. Overhangs and crevices provide shaded areas where light-sensitive species can thrive. Plate-like corals form natural shelters beneath their broad surfaces, offering refuge for fish and invertebrates during periods of intense sunlight. At greater depths, where light diminishes, reef organisms adapt to low-light conditions. Corals may grow in flattened shapes to capture available sunlight, while fish develop larger eyes to detect subtle movements. Colors become less vivid, reflecting the limited spectrum of light that reaches these depths. Bioluminescence adds another dimension to reef color after dark. Certain plankton emit brief flashes of light when disturbed, creating tiny sparks in the water. Some organisms produce a steady glow that may help with communication or camouflage. These faint lights transform the reef into a quiet, shimmering landscape at night. As you continue to drift above the reef, imagine the gentle movement of light across coral surfaces and the soft blending of colors shaped by depth and water clarity. The reef's beauty lies not only in its vivid hues, but in the subtle transitions that occur as sunlight filters through the ocean. Let your breathing remain slow and steady, matching the gentle rhythm of light and water. In this calm, luminous environment, the coral reef exists as a living tapestry, woven from color, light, and the quiet persistence of life beneath the waves. Take a slow breath and imagine the gentle movement of water around the reef. Though the ocean may appear still from above, currents are constantly flowing, carrying nutrients, oxygen, and microscopic life through the intricate channels of the reef. These currents shape the reef's structure and sustain the organisms that depend on its steady flow. Ocean currents are driven by wind, temperature differences, and the rotation of the Earth. In tropical regions, warm surface currents transport heat and nutrients across vast distances. When these currents encounter reefs, they deliver plankton and dissolved minerals that support coral growth and the reef food web. Water movement across the reef provides oxygen essential for marine life. As currents pass over coral surfaces, oxygen diffuses into the tissues of corals and other organisms. This steady supply supports respiration and helps maintain healthy reef conditions. Currents also help remove waste products. Organic debris and metabolic waste are carried away from coral colonies, preventing the buildup of harmful substances. This natural cleansing process contributes to the stability of reef ecosystems. The shape of the reef influences how currents flow. Channels and gaps direct water movement, creating areas of stronger flow where filter feeders thrive. Sponges, soft corals, and feather stars extend their feeding structures into the current, capturing plankton and organic particles carried by the water. Sheltered areas within the reef experience slower water movement, allowing fine sediments to settle. These calmer zones provide habitats for burrowing organisms and seagrass beds. The contrast between high-flow and low-flow areas contributes to the reef's biodiversity. Wave action is closely related to currents. Waves breaking over the reef crest create turbulence that helps mix water and distribute nutrients. This mixing supports photosynthesis by bringing fresh supplies of carbon dioxide to coral tissues while removing excess oxygen. Seasonal changes can alter current patterns. Monsoon winds and shifting weather systems influence the direction and strength of water flow. Reef organisms adapt to these changes by adjusting feeding behaviors and growth patterns. Larval dispersal depends on ocean currents. Coral larvae and fish larvae drift with the water, sometimes traveling great distances before settling. This movement helps maintain genetic diversity and allows reefs to recover from disturbances by receiving new recruits from other areas. Strong currents can present challenges for reef inhabitants. Fish living in high-flow areas often possess streamlined bodies that reduce resistance. Some species use suction-like fins to cling to rocks, conserving energy while remaining in place. The interaction between currents and reef structures creates a dynamic environment where nutrients are continuously circulated. This circulation allows coral reefs to thrive in waters that might otherwise lack sufficient resources to support such diversity. As you drift peacefully above the reef, imagine the gentle currents carrying life-sustaining nutrients through coral branches and across sandy lagoons. The steady movement of water connects distant parts of the reef, supporting a network of life that depends on balance and flow. Let your breathing remain slow and even, mirroring the rhythm of the currents below. In the quiet motion of the ocean, the coral reef endures, shaped by water, sustained by movement, and connected through the endless flow of the sea. Take a slow, calming breath and imagine the reef through the passage of time. Though tropical oceans do not experience the dramatic seasonal shifts seen on land, subtle changes in temperature, sunlight, and currents influence reef life throughout the year. These gradual variations shape feeding patterns, reproduction, and growth, creating gentle cycles within the reef ecosystem. Seasonal changes in sunlight affect the intensity and duration of daylight reaching the reef. During periods of longer daylight, photosynthesis by symbiotic algae increases, providing additional energy for coral growth. Shorter days bring slightly reduced light, encouraging corals to rely more on capturing plankton for nourishment. Water temperature fluctuates modestly throughout the year in many reef regions. These variations can influence coral spawning cycles, with many species releasing gametes during warmer periods. Seasonal warming provides environmental cues that help synchronize reproductive events across large areas of reef. Currents may shift with seasonal winds, altering nutrient availability. Increased water movement can deliver greater supplies of plankton, supporting feeding for corals and filter feeders. In calmer periods, sediment may settle more readily, creating different habitat conditions within lagoons and sheltered zones. Fish behavior often reflects seasonal changes. Some species form larger schools during certain times of the year, while others migrate to spawning grounds. These movements ensure that populations remain balanced and that offspring are produced under favorable conditions. Seagrass beds within reef lagoons respond to seasonal light and temperature variations. Periods of increased sunlight support growth, providing food for herbivorous species such as sea turtles. As seagrass thrives, it stabilizes sediments and maintains water clarity, benefiting nearby coral communities. Storm seasons can influence reef structure. Tropical storms and cyclones may break coral branches and redistribute sediments. While these events can cause localized damage, they also create new surfaces for coral larvae to settle. Over time, reefs recover through growth and recruitment, demonstrating resilience shaped by natural cycles. Seasonal plankton blooms provide temporary abundance for reef organisms. Increased plankton availability supports feeding for corals, fish, and invertebrates. These blooms are often linked to changes in water temperature and nutrient upwelling, which bring nutrient-rich water to the surface. Reef organisms are adapted to these gentle seasonal rhythms. Rather than abrupt change, they experience gradual transitions that allow time for adjustment. This stability supports the long-term persistence of reef ecosystems in tropical environments. Human communities connected to reefs often recognize seasonal patterns. Traditional fishing practices may align with spawning periods to ensure sustainability. Observations of water temperature, currents, and fish behavior have guided resource management for generations. As you drift peacefully above the reef, imagine the slow passage of seasons marked by subtle shifts in light, temperature, and water movement. Coral colonies continue their steady growth. Fish follow ancient migration patterns, and currents deliver nutrients that sustain life. Let your breathing remain slow and steady, matching the gentle rhythm of seasonal change. In this calm awareness, the coral reef persists through cycles of renewal, shaped by time and sustained by the quiet continuity of the ocean.